So let's make another file. So make another file called friends. And we're going to chmod plus x friends. And then we're going to vi friends. And then I'm going to put in here /bin/bash. And then I'm going to write and quit and open that again. So this is open now in bash mode. And I'm going to say friends equals, and I'm going to put a parentheses there, which is how you signify to bash that I'm about to create an array. And then I'm going to put Kyle, Mark, Jem, and then I'm going to put my name in quotes, Brian Holt, because I want to put my full name in there, and Sarah, like that. So this is how you do an array, the parentheses, and then you put the various different, and you just put spaces between them. And if you want to have something that has a space in it, like Brian Holt, you just put that inside of quotes. And then the way you access that is you say echo my second friend is, and you put $, and then curly brace, friends, and then you do square bracket 1, like that. So I'd be the first to admit, using arrays in bash is a little clumsy in terms of like how it looks, but that's how you do it right there. And then let's do a for loop. So we're going to say for friend in $friends, $friends, and then you have to tell it how much of friends that you want, and I want all of it, so I'm going to put star in there, like that. And that will give me all of the friends in friend. Then you have to tell it to do something, so I'm going to say do echo friend : friend, like this. So that will refer to this friend, because it's going to do like a for in loop. Those exist in JavaScript as well, so I'm sure many of you have probably seen that. And then after you do that, you just say I'm done, like that. And then here, if you want to get the length of an array, this is, again, super odd. I say I have, I have $, curly, and then you put a pound or a hash, friends, and then you have to tell it how much of friends that you want the length of, so I want all of them, friends, like that. And those quotes are probably optional. So as you can see, kind of a clumsy way of doing arrays. The way that it works underneath the hood is even more clumsy in my opinion. It's actually like converting them to strings and back to arrays in odd ways, but that's actually how you end up doing it. So let's make sure that this runs. Friends, there you go. So my second friend is Mark, which is you expect. This looped over and printed all of my friends. You can see it actually split even Brian Holt apart, which is fun. And then it says I have 5 friends. Yeah, and there is a way to not split Brian Holt apart. The question is, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head how you do it. But suffice to say that is a possibility. But it's actually only storing 5 things in the array. So like, for example, if I VI'd in that again, I think if I accessed, so this would be 0, 1, 2, 3. See what it says if I do that. Yeah, so it does actually give you that holistically as that. But the for in loop is actually breaking that part by the space. It's kind of wild, right? So I'll just throw out there, I am typically not creating and destroying arrays when I'm creating bash scripts. It's not something that's typically I need to do. I'll consume other programs that use arrays, but not necessarily myself. Okay, Let's make one more. We're going to do a while loop. And there are more types of loops, just as you may imagine. There's like do loops and other things. Just going to show you two of them, and the other one I'm going to show you is a while loop. And then if you need a different sort of loop, you feel free to go look for them. So let's make another one called guess. And let's actually, yeah, touch guess chmod plus x guess and vi guess, and we'll insert our hash bang bin bash right quit and oops, and now we can write this. So the first thing we're going to create is a number to guess, num to guess, and we're going to create this variable. And then we're going to do $ parentheses parentheses, $random, which $random is always going to be a random number between 0 and I think it's like 32,000 or something like that. It's like 2 to the 12th divided by 2 or something like that. It's some specific number like that. $random, and then you're going to do modulus 10 because we want it to be between 0 and 9, right? Which is what the modulo does. It's like the remainder of a division, right? You've probably seen that in other languages. And then after you do that, we're going to do plus 1 because we want it to be between 1 and 10. Let's talk about the double parentheses for just a second. Do you remember like when we were doing the if statements that converts that to test? The double parentheses with the $ converts to, which one is it? Let. It converts to another program called let. And let lets you do basic arithmetic. So when you do these double parentheses, it's like, hey, I'm about to do some math, and you're going to give it some numbers and then expect some number back from it. So that's what this is doing. This converts it to a let, which allows you to do modulus, because modulo does not typically work, or not modulus, modulo. Modulo does not work in bash script. You have to pass it to let and then get that number back. Okay, so suffice to say, after this, num to guess is going to be a random number between 1 and 10. Then we're going to get a guessed num, and that's going to be initially equal to 0, which is going to be outside of the possibility. We're going to say echo guess a number between 1 and 10. And then we're going to say while num to guess is not equal to guessed num do read dash p your guess guessed num done. And then after they're done with it, you're going to say you got it. All right, so let's break this down just kind of bit by bit. Num to guess, this is going to be some random number between 1 and 10. This isn't going to change. This only gets set once at the very beginning. And then guess number is 0, which is not a number between 1 and 10. Okay, then we're going to echo guess a number. And the first time this runs, obviously 0 is outside of the boundary, so that it's always going to run at least once. Okay, and then this square bracket notation should look familiar to you. This is also works with tests, right? So the same way that if statement works, this also works for while loops as well. So this is going to test every single loop. Is this statement true? And then eventually, when num guess is equal to guessed num, when they've actually guessed the number correctly, this is going to be false and it's going to break out of the loop. Does that make sense? Okay. And then here in the middle, we're going to be reading from the user numbers. It's going to pause here until this happens, and then it's going to run the loop again if they don't guess the correct number. Eventually, this is going to finish once they guess the correct number, and it's going to echo, you got it, and then it's going to be done. So let's see if it works. Guess. So guess a number between 1 and 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Answer was 4. That one's a little bit more opaque, so I'm just going to make sure that we got it. This read statement here is going to pause, and it pauses the execution of the entire bash script until it happens, right? Which is why this doesn't keep looping indefinitely. But as long as you did not guess the correct number, this would loop indefinitely. It loops until this is not true. Here on this line, why is there no $ for guessed num? And the reason why, you're giving guessed num to read. So this is actually an argument that's being fed into read, and then read is using that to set a variable for you, right? If I put the $ guessed num, what would happen? It would actually put 0 here, so the thing that read would receive would be 0. It would be the value of this. So because whenever you do the $ there, bash is going to go replace it for you before it gets fed into the program. We don't want the value of guessed num, we want the string guessed num fed into read so that it can set that variable for us. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's a great question.